Welcome to Carefree and Conscious, paranormal and profound authors with stunning true stories. If you like this type of content, be sure to subscribe. I'm your host, Susanne Wilson, the Carefree Medium and Intuition Educator. Today on Carefree and Conscious, Presidential Election, Get Spiritually Ready Now, with Reverend Temple Hayes. Do you have a lot of angst in your life right now? Especially if you're listening to this podcast during the time leading up to the American presidential election. You've come to the right place to help yourself feel grounded and centered and ready for whatever happens next. You may know Temple Hayes to be a rebel, a renegade, someone who speaks truth to power. She is, in fact, a spiritual trailblazer for over 30 years now. Her book, When Did You Die?, is grounded in her work to help people move through trauma into energized living. In addition to When Did You Die?, she's authored Being a Difference Maker, How to Speak Unity, and The Right to Be You. Temple founded the Global Peace Workers, which stands for Life Rights. It is a nonprofit organization that's dedicated to the right of all to live the life of their intention in freedom and peace. And the Sophie Project, a nonprofit organization that educates and supports rescue organizations, which stands for animal rights and all the rights of sentient beings. And now, Carefree and Conscious, get spiritually ready now. Temple Hayes, welcome to Carefree and Conscious.
Oh, I've been so looking forward to this. I'm familiar with your work, and I say, go girl. Way to go.
I say go girl back. I'm trying not to get tongue tied because you're what we call the OG, and I make no bones about how long somebody's been around. I know some people are like, oh, don't say that I've been in this for 20 years. It's going to age me. You don't care. I just saw your video about this is like 30 years for you. Is that right?
Oh yeah, longer than that. Absolutely. I always get tickled like at a convention or conference when they insist on reading, like this two-page bio, and they go, "Isn't that impressive?" I go, "It means I've lived a very long time."
You also made a huge impact in the world with your ministry, with the work that you do. And I've listened to presentations from you for about 8 or 9 years.
Oh,
And we have a lot to talk about. So I think we better get right to it. But the first thing that I want to ask you is why devote your life to a ministry of bringing calm and peace to others through promoting universal consciousness? Universal consciousness is very important, but it's not an easy road, especially when Temple Hayes started.
well, I think the birthing of oneself. It's one thing to be born. It's another thing to continue to be birthed. In other words, a lot of times people that are great healers, that are great leaders, that are great teachers, they have this woundology about them that says, I've had so many hard things happen in my life. And one day when they aren't happening, then I'm going to step out on a stage. And I say, we've had these hard things happen in our life, almost crazy. People will say, were your parents supportive? I went, are you kidding me? I'm not Yogananda. No, my parents didn't say, you are one of the weirdest people we've ever met in this small town in South Carolina. We don't know who you are. Let's get you to a mystery school. No, they just told me I needed to go more to the Southern Baptist Church and get fixed and healed because the devil had me, right? But we have these things happen to us so that we can integrate them, so that we can expand from them, so that we offer really what is needed on the planet at this particular time. So, yes, I do what I do because there's lots of people like me and Susanne out there waiting, needing someone to say, you are phenomenal. Or as I will walk into an AA conference and say, welcome to the gifted people. And
That.
they go, what? And some of them cry. They said, you said, welcome to the gifted people? I said, often the addicts are the most gifted people on the planet, feeding that hole, as John Bradshaw would say. So I do what I do as long as I live and breathe and move in my being. And I keep just creating larger templates to hold myself accountable. So that's a big part of it, as you know, Susanne. Our work is holding us accountable to stretch and grow and continue to expand. And that being said, of any way to offer to people that you are absolutely wonderful, whole, and beautiful, and don't get caught in this media trap of breaking news and letting it break you. That's the short of it.
Well, I'm glad that you brought up the media trap and all the conflict that we see in the world. It's not just in America, but of course, you and I live in America. So, what do you say to people who are feeling absolutely hopeless? Oh, I want to move out of the country, but I don't know where to go, and sort of want to run away? Now, there are very good reasons to move to other countries. I'm not knocking it, but there's also this sense of hopelessness that's starting to permeate the American culture. What are some of the ways to look at what's going on in the world from your perspective, certainly a spiritual perspective?
Well, one of the things that I ask myself and I ask other people is what are you digesting each and every day of your life? What are you digesting? Because if you are one of those people and when you get up in the morning, you read all your news notifications and you jump online and you read that, and then you're digesting. What are you digesting? One of the greatest things about 2.5 years ago that my wife and I did, we jumped in an RV with a lot of planning, but drove all the way from the East Coast to Santa Barbara for our new home. And it was fascinating because I met no one that was unkind nor caring or helpful. And I get goosebumps just thinking about it. It was the greatest America. So what we digest, because often we talk about how bright we are, or we're so intellectual, and we've evolved, and I'm sure in many ways we have. I felt I have in some ways, but when we can't, with intelligence, realize how programmed we are based upon selling products, and we don't understand that, that's so sad. All the systems meet together to say, how low can we get these non-thinking people? We are hurting them, hurting as in hurting like cows, and we are hurting them because we still give news. In the 1800s, it was stated, don't pay attention to the news. They're only telling you what they want you to think. And we know this intellectual, but let something come across our phone and we're like, oh, what? And did you read that? And we digest it. And so that is a big thing, is balance in our lives and using some of the intuitive faculty to say, does this feel right? Does this thing? And now with AI and all the other things and the, corrected videos, and it's not really what you see. It's like, whoa, it's a lot. So we fill ourselves daily with balance. That's one thing. The other thing is a quote I wrote a number of years ago: united we stand, divided we are merely a distraction. The question of, to me, is when people ask me, who are you going to vote for? My answer is, I have a bigger question than that. Of 330 million people in America, these are our choices. 330 million people in America, and these are our choices. That's a
Amen.
deeper that's
Amen,
a
Susan.
deeper concern to me than anything about who am I for, and divided. Now, we've always had these primaries and we learn things and we see grown-ups acting like children and catfighting and coming up with false information and making stuff up. But once someone got in office, they remembered that they were serving the united we stand, divided we are merely a distraction. It's frustrating as a thinking human being that isn't easily influenced by drama and trauma and cray cray to understand the concern we have, because we are electing people into office that represent just half of the people. And as of, 8, 10 years ago, then we became the divided. The funny of this, I have 2 dogs and we go walking. And every now and then there's a big dog that comes and is coming towards me and them. Do you know what my little dogs do? They turn on each other. And I call them over to the side and I go, this isn't how this works. Okay, you need each other. And we are like my dogs. We have forgotten that we are a collective whole. We have forgotten that we can destroy each other from hatred and separation and division. We must get back to we are one nation with differences, not we are different because we are divided. And there are people that will vote because when they were 3, their papa told them they're a Republican. And you won't consider any other option, or you're a Democrat or you're independent and you won't consider any other option. It's like people that are Catholic, they may have never gone, but they say, if you ask, they're Catholic. Oh, what do you do with them? Nothing. How involved have you been? I don't ever go, but I just know I'm Catholic. I see, I don't want to make people wrong because then I'm dividing. I don't want to use divided language either. I couldn't be a Baptist because my family were Baptists, because the God they talked about wasn't a God that would even like me, let alone bless me. So I had to go on a trail. And so I don't understand that, because you pick the person that you know represents the collective whole of what we need right now. And it's been fascinating and very disappointing. I know that there are a lot of leaders that after they die, we hear things they did. We don't know. They're not there to tell us if they did or they didn't. But we also have never seen such times as these, that there's no etiquette. Any languages goes, any way of character, forget that. That's out the door. And it because people are being sold in the divide. When you're divided, yeah, it's kind of like and if you're enjoying this, I'll keep going if you want to get on to something.
This is what we need. This is
It,
absolutely what we need right now. And we have a big election coming up. And I have to tell you, when I have one-on-one sessions, which I'm doing again, one of the biggest concerns and one of the biggest anxiety causers is thinking about this election. And my clients are saying, I just don't know what's going to happen to the world. And I'm trying to put it back as like, your world is about you and your family and your neighbors and your community. Focus on that. Be the light where you are. And it's like, I feel sometimes like I'm just giving platitudes,
mhm.
and it's so difficult to allow people to have a heart space of calm and ease. And I think just listening to you would make us pause and try to rethink how we're thinking?
Well, thank you. And it's like anybody that's a byproduct of divorced parents or parents that should have divorced. And they go at each other and all that. It immediately before it ever gets started is one of division. And it really is about who cries the loudest that often wins, right? The disciplinarian or the authoritative or the bully is often the ones that we succumb to. We've gotten so caught up in what the news, the four or five that are all in it together, and one or two are so evidently biased that it's not. When people gave the generations before that gave the power to Walter Cronkite, hey, people, something bad happened at 9 o'clock, but come back at 5 because it's probably going to work itself out. Now it's crisis, trauma, drama, crazy, death, murder, shooting, guns. And if they run out of that and they run out of something to say about a certain person aiming for office, which sells a lot of activity and a lot of products and a lot of that, when they run out of that, oh, excuse me, we have a shark. It might be a year-old story, but let's pull that out. We'll get them. Oh, wait, crocodiles are eating people in Florida. Have you heard about that? Does on an occasion something happen in nature in their house? It's their house? Yes, something happens, but the rarity and the low percentage of anything that's practical. So it is, as Howard Thurman would say, and this is what I say to my clients, stop asking what the world needs, because loved ones, the world you're seeing isn't the world. The world you're seeing is through a biased set of lens that is weakening you by the hour. Breaking news is literally breaking us, and we are allowing it. And even though we know better, and even though our intelligence is telling us we are being herded and we are being hurted, even though we do that, we're addicted to what the world. We don't see the world. We see a biased opinion that's directed to get us to take medicine, to do other insurance, to buy certain products. And it's been that way for a long time. Sadly, it's just gotten worse since they can measure what makes us do what we do. So now it's increased. But that being said, as Howard Thurman would say, stop asking what the world needs and ask what makes you come alive. That's what the world needs, as it needs more people like Susanne and Temple, that we are alive and we're bringing more of that energetic life, and we're speaking out and we're stating things, not to be right, not to go, oh, look at me. I mean, I don't know about you. I'm thrilled I've survived myself thus far.
It's actually a very good point.
Mm-hmm.
We are here for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
We are still here for a reason as well. It's not to suffer, but there is suffering on earth. And people want to know what their purpose is. And I have thoughts on a general purpose about learning how to love and have compassion for self and compassion for others. What are your thoughts on our soul's purpose?
Well, that by itself is another market, right? I'm going to go to this workshop, and self-care, self-help, I think originally was rooted in the right idea, like New Thought. I think originally was rooted in a place of depth to empower, that you find out what you find out. You go through these processes for a few years, and then you go out and then you do your compassion, you compass it on, and then you reach that many people. The self-help market, in my humble opinion, is becoming yet another, you have to have this. You got to have this new thing. You got to have this new toy. You got to come to it now. And the more you pay for it, the more advanced you're going to be. And you're going to be a shaman with a weekend retreat. If I told my teacher I was a shaman, she didn't even let me say it after 10 years. And Sandra Ingerman, who started Soul Retrieval, would never want anyone to say that, because unless you're born in the lineage, you're not a shaman. You are not a shaman. You are a shamanic practitioner, that kind of thing. But anyway, not to digress, but a purpose is the fact that you say to yourself, dear spirit, I humbly agree to respond to what I see today. I am open. And so I walk to the mailbox and I see a bird that's been hit, that it's a parent and it can't walk. That's my purpose. I go over, I scoop up the bird, I take it so it won't get hit by a car, and I call the bird sanctuary. That's my purpose. Am I going to go get a business card, and am I going to start promoting I'm a bird catcher? I don't know yet, but I'm going to pay attention. And when I go to the grocery and I see a woman and she's got bags and she's got a walker, she's almost falling, and I'm standing right beside her, I'm going to ask, can I help you? I'm not going to go get a business card, but I'm going to pay attention. Before long, I start seeing the dots connect, and I see, oh, this is what the chapter of my life is right now. What I find is that people want us to jump on things because it's trendy, because it's popular on TikTok, or because it's on Insta, or it's this and it's that. And I'm not making that wrong. I feel like you do. Any way we can put a dip of good in the ocean waters of life, wow, we're doing something. We're at a vibration. But when things fall right in front of you and you go, excuse me, I'm making plans. I'm looking for my purpose, when there's a dog needing help, a thing over here or that. I don't get that. I really don't get that, because you are on purpose by responding to what life puts in front of you. And it may not be something that you're going to have 2 million views. I'm not sure. It could, but it is about, in great humility, and a necessary thing for us to respond to. I feel if we can be entrusted by Great Spirit to respond to the small things, we will be gifted larger things. That's my take on purpose.
So if we can be trusted to respond to Great Spirit on small things, we can be gifted with the bigger things that coming forward in the life. So the purpose isn't a daily unfoldment. Is that pretty close?
Yes. And we all have business cards, and we all have specifics that we focus on. So if you need a title, you just make it generic. I'm an energy healer or something of that nature. But I think the part is having the heart and the soul purpose line up, going in the same direction. I've seen many a minister never realize that, oh, one of the things about being a minister is to everyone, not just the people that are in front of you paying your salary, right? Not just, oh, I'm at this conference and 3 ministers have told me they've lost their mother. Oh, I don't change the subject and start talking about my TV show. It's like, how can I serve you? It's like, and these are just ways and tools that it's not looking for what people are doing wrong, but it's reminding myself of ways to be that we really are congruent, with our message. There's a funny story that you and your listeners will really love. There's this woman driving through town. She's in a hurry, and she's coming up on a traffic light, and the light is yellow, and she knows that the guy in front of her is going to go through. Well, he doesn't. He stops. Hard stop. Well, she just reacts. She makes sign language out the window. She's cursing at this guy, going on and on and on. Well, in the meantime, a police officer is sitting over there observing this, and he pulls up behind her and gets her to pull over. And he goes, "Ma'am, I need your license and registration." "Oh, okay." So she does, and he goes, "Ma'am, we're going to need to leave this car parked here, and I need you to go down to the station." Okay, so she goes down to the station. She's there 2 or 3 hours. Police officer says, "Okay, ma'am, you're free to go." She said, "Well, I'm grateful, but I never realized what I did." He said, "Well, ma'am, realize what it was like from my perspective. I see how you're acting with this man in front of you and how you're carrying on. And I look at the bumper stickers on your car, and you have world peace, advocate for oneness, love each other, coexist." And he said, "Ma'am, I thought you were driving a stolen car."
I like that.
Isn't that great?
I yes, yes, it really tells the tale, doesn't it?
Mhm.
So, is there perhaps an addiction to fear?
Fear and negativity, absolutely. Absolutely. And until one really wakes up to the awareness that we will trade off one for the other. I apologize so much for myself and my throes of alcohol. By the way, I kept doing it and doing it and doing it and thinking I'd get better at it. I didn't. But, for 15 years, just drank, went to jail twice, but I was so used to the addiction response of, "I'm sorry, I didn't mean to, I'll do better. What's wrong?" That replaced the addiction of the medicine I was giving myself that was making me a mess, in that I still lived in what's wrong. Something's got to be wrong. So that can, it's that often in humanity, if we can choose the positive or negative, we're more apt to talk about the negative. I saw the other day, let's see, how does it go? I remember when I see a glass half full or a glass half empty, I want to remember I'm the one pouring the water.
Yes,
Isn't that good?
that I think that one really is good. So let's talk about addiction.
Mm-hmm.
Some say that addiction work is holy work and that only the more experienced souls come to earth for that experience. What do you say to that? And what is the foundation, the spiritual foundation for walking through the addiction experience on earth?
Well, I'm not as familiar with those kind of statistics. I can simply say that of the people that I have known that recover from alcohol, which is an allergy. So one of the things is that back in the day when we used to see Joe on the side of the street and slurring and had lost his home and his family, we'd go, "What the heck is wrong with that guy? Why doesn't he know any better and do better?" But then we evolved to a state of consciousness that said, "Oh my gosh, he has an allergy. He has an allergic reaction." We don't get mad if you go to dinner with somebody and you want to get them to order shrimp and they say, "I can't eat shellfish. It could kill me." We don't get mad at them. We go, "Whoa, let's make sure you don't get peanuts, or let's make sure you don't get that." And that's true for a predisposition of alcohol, a liquid in the brain called THIQ, abbreviated for this long, long term. We have an allergy. That part of it, though, the deeper dive of your real question that you were asking me, is to get back to a place of, if the universe made me, whatever you call the universe, divine mind, God, intelligence, Yahweh, doesn't matter what you call it. What truly matters is what you believe about it. So if you're part of organizations and you're going and you're clapping, but you don't believe in it and you don't believe what it stands for, you're in the wrong place. So if you are in a radical, positive, life-affirming for you, creative aspect, they do not go together, because an assertive, esteemed person that has been together by nature and nurture does not walk around as an apology for one's life. We all are given the same tools as far as meditation, connection, groundedness, nature. We were given this great gift called nature. It calms our soul, it settles us, it allows us to see things in a different perspective. So we become more committed to that. You know, somebody asked me one time, ma'am, was it hard for you to stop drinking? Now 36 years. I go, let me tell you what was hard. I didn't remember where my car was. I don't remember who I slept with. I would call people and say, I was with you last night. And then I would wait for them to tell me what happened because I didn't remember. I apologize for myself all the time. That's hard. Not drinking, a walk in the park. And the way that I became sober is I did not want to apologize for myself. So that meant I needed to align myself with highly esteemed people. I couldn't sit every day and woos and woes, victimhood, victimization, poor little me, keep telling my same story over and over. That was not my path. I publicly don't say that, but I mean, I just did. But what I mean by that, I'm not going to be at an AA conference and say, you know, AA didn't work for me, because I would feel like I traded one for the other. You understand what I'm saying? So I had to get into assertive training, esteem classes, therapy that praise the aspects of the good of me, not the downside of me. And that's what shifted it. And more, I started replacing that dark water with clean water until my spirit was like deeply energized. And then I realized, oh, part of the reason that I have had those issues and I'm on the other side of it is that I'm here to be a messenger, that you can do this. You can overcome this. You really can, if you're willing to put in the work. What is work? Are you willing to do the work as a failure? Are you willing to do the work as a success? They're both the same amount of work. In some ways, the work to remain a failure is harder because you're working against your evolving spirit and the way you're destined to be. And that's real hard, to walk backwards. Yeah, the only bird that flies backward is a hummingbird, but they're so cute and little, we don't mind. But in humanity, we're not designed that way.
This is really wonderful to hear the way you have metaphors and how you tie them into your own life experience. Do you subscribe to the theory that we plan our lives before we're born, or is there some modification to that? Now, I'll tell you what I'm currently working on. My hypothesis is that we may plan some overall life themes, but how we get at those, and even if we get at those in a life, is a function of circumstances, our free will, and the free will of people around us. But there are those who think, I'm coming here, I've 3 different years that I might pass. If it's this year, I pass this way. If it's that year, I'm going to have 2 kids. I'm never going to get divorced. I mean, they really think that every single detail is planned. Is there somewhere in the middle, or do you think maybe we don't plan at all? We just show up?
Big breath on that one. I think often we confuse personality, goal setting, vision boards with soul purpose. So in other words, what do I mean by that? As a soul, I would concur with you. I would say, as a soul, there were some things that I wanted to be a part of in this incarnation. And so there is that. Did I consciously, meet with a committee as a conscious thinking person and say, I want to be born in that small town and be in a population high school where 1,200 people were and be a gay girl and have my family turn on me? That is a lot of fun. I really want that. I got to do that. Heck no, that's insanity. I wouldn't consciously choose to choose such a difficult, you can still get killed in other countries. And in this one, thanks to a lot of the recent things going on, would I choose that like as this intelligent person? Heck no. As a soul, there are various things in my puzzle that I perhaps agreed to. How I got there and how I get there, I do decide if I want to go left or I want to go right. I can argue with Waze or navigation or GPS all I want to, but there are certain things that are on a deeper level of my soul. But I think it gets collapsed in the best way I understand it, Susanne, is that people confuse that with my personality. You know, I want to get married and I want to marry Ken and I want to have good looking kids and I want to have 2 cars and I want to have a garage. You know what? Some of us that weren't destined to have that, maybe we wanted that too. That seems to be the easiest promoted in our culture, right? But if it's not our destiny, it doesn't matter. You can do whatever you want to force fit the piece of your puzzle. You are still going to have experiences. And at the end of the day, the one gift you have is free will and choice. And anything that you're choosing that supports you in being a victim, you are not in harmony with nature and you need to get off that bus. We are not born to be victims. We may have victim experiences that expand us to victor and to victory and to forward movement and to support others. But that is not why we're here. We have systems like healthcare that support victimization. The only way you get your benefits or justify that you pay that much money every month is for you to be sick. The only way that you can make up all the things that you're paying is to be a victim. If you don't work and you don't feel like it and you get food stamps, you're a victim. And am I saying that's true for every situation? Are there always some unique situations? Yes. But in our society, we ought to have a reward-based healthcare system that if you don't ever use it, you work to a place that you almost get free healthcare. But what you're telling me now is that if I can be sick and I can make up a story, then my insurance will cover it and it'll cover my doctor and it'll cover everything. But I have to be less than what I'm really destined to be. It's really, we have a lot to focus on. So all of you looking for your purpose, pick one. We have a few. We have a few. It's so wild. And we must stop driving a stolen car. If you love animals, then stop feeding the drama of the trophy killers. I mean, speak out, say something, do something, pay something to change.org, like make it all line up. And that is back to united we stand, divided we're merely a distraction. Do I fall short? Yes. Is it my intention to do so? No. I look at how am I driving a stolen car? Where am I not lined up? I am not going to keep giving this excuse that it's because, oh, well, I'm human. Well, excuse me. That's not good enough. And please stop saying you are, because you're making some of us look really, really bad. It's like the thing that where people say, I don't mind being the age I am. It's just when I see other people that age, it's like, oh, really? Could that be possible? Like beating to a different drum. That's where a lot of our pain comes. Is we want to beat to a different drum, but we get overtaken by mass media programming and we give up. It's an everyday aligning of somebody wanting to say to me, oh, well, your friend has cancer because you're at the age now that friends have cancer. I'm like, do you read? Do you read? Do you do any statistics? Do you know that cancer is the #2 leading cause of all death on the planet? It's not forgiving. It gets children, it gets teenagers, and how did my age have to do with anything? It's a real thing to be a gatekeeper, right? And I won't buy into this. I'm gonna be old. When I do, I don't want to be here. I don't want to be here. I
Yeah.
think we are an energetic presence. It's obvious you feel that way too. The energy is just reeking from you and your aura. That's what we're here for, to find out and live what makes us become alive. And
Do
then
you
be that
perceive do you perceive the aura objectively or subjectively?
subjectively.
Okay. Do you ever get it objectively?
Sometimes, yes,
I'll bet when you were a child, you saw colors and lights.
I did.
Yes. Okay. Well, I had a preacher granddad when that was happening to me.
Oh,
And fortunately, when I confessed to him why I was pretending to be sick because I didn't want to go to school because I always got my big mouth telling people that there were spirits around them and I got in trouble, bullied, beat up, all that stuff. When I confessed to him what I was seeing, to my surprise, he said, I see them too. And so it
wow.
helped me
Wow.
out. But Temple, who helped you out as an intuitive and sensitive kid? How did you navigate that? Did you feel the presence of the Lord around you or guides, or did you have a friend in the physical world?
Uh, I would like to say yes. It was later on in my life. When I was 5, I was outdoors and I got this message, and voices appeared and told me that I came here for the world in whatever way a 5-year-old hears that. And I went, what the heck? What is that? And I said that later on to my mother, and she went, I have no idea. I just know you're very, very different. That I know. Okay, that's nice. When I would be like, well, I don't want to be here. I don't know why I'm here. It took me 48 hours to be born with my mom, so I must have been resisting then. No, I
That just
can't. I don't want
just
to
hits me.
go.
It's so funny. That just made funny.
I laugh about it. My mother is dead now, but my mother said, always tell these stories. No, I've talked to her as a spirit on the other side. Always tell these stories. I mean, my joke is my mother strained so much for me to be born. When I would see her as an adult, she'd go, hello. But that being said, back to what you're saying, no, and I would give up hope. And people would say, oh, you're so lucky at 5. I went, lucky? If you're Yogananda, yeah, you get put in the right place. No, I didn't. I was ousted. I was a worshiper of Satan. I mean, all kind of things. And however, every now and then somebody at a grocery or somewhere would literally come up to me and say, you are here for a reason. You are a master teacher. And I would, and the first couple of times I would go, oh, thank you. After a while, it aggravated me. It's like, I don't want to hear that anymore unless I can see something that supports me. So I was delayed to college. I grew up with a family tire business. I knew all about tires. I could throw them up in the air and catch them. And I was all that with this little girl's muscles, change tires. And I wound up at Michelin Tire that had come to the States from Clermont-Ferrand. And there was a Unity down the road. And a guy kept walking up to me and giving me books. The Way as a Man Thinketh and Illusions by Richard Bach. And I just absorbed all this. And I went to a Unity, and there they're talking about intuition, insight, connection to something greater than yourself. And that's when it started. So I, from 5 to 19, was in development training, apparently. And then I just fell in love with Unity. And that's why I still stand for Unity. Now, Unity is like shamanism, is like psychics. It depends on who you go to. So be aware, because you have some Unities that still want to try to be traditional Christian and walk around it. That is not me. To me, if it's about oneness and connection and it's about spirituality, then check mark. I'm about that. But if you start getting into dogma and you're too afraid to be who you are because of evangelists and all that stuff, and I went through hell. Why would I ever perceive of going to one, right? I mean, I don't, heaven and hell aren't real estate. And I'm sorry people don't know that. I'm sorry they don't know God's not a man and a white man and all that in 2024. So I give messages about those kind of things when people want them. So
Well, you
that's
really are on fire for life. And
mm.
On Fire for Life is the name of your podcast. So, what kinds of initiatives, in addition to the podcast, do you work on right now?
I founded an online university 4 years ago called ILLI, the Institute for Leadership and Lifelong Learning. And so I'm involved with that, and that's teaching the core true leadership of people being grounded, not head smart. That's easy. Depth smart, that's something altogether. So the anchoring of that for true leadership. I have a 501c3 called Global Peace Workers, and we support various needs, whether it's anything related to life. So, I might be working on a petition to change the way they kill foxes in North Carolina. I might be right now currently sending funding for potatoes and crops for a little town in Kenya. It just really depends, again, on, like I said, what shows up on the path. But I've been doing Global Peace Worker along with others that help me, thank them, since 2007.
Do you ever feel like you're doing enough or get into that overwhelmed mode? Like, oh gosh, this problem it's like spaghetti. It has so many moving parts to it. How much difference could I make? And because it's one thing to talk about the doing and talk about the being, and your purpose unfolds every day, but we all get overwhelmed. How does that unfold for you? How do you know when, look, I'm maxed out?
Well, like you, I don't live in Kumbaya La La Land. Uh,
Do you even visit? Because
I do, I
I
do
don't
my,
really
I
visit
do
often.
my, I do my best to only complain about things that I intend to do something about. About 10 years ago, I no longer would allow the word busy to fit into my vocabulary. And I would no longer allow people to affirm for me that I am busy. I am creative. And see, these are the things with our language that we have to really pay attention, because before you know it, we've gone back in victimhood. We've gone back in martyrdom. If you look at the shadow of a healer and a visionary, it's martyrdom. It's like, oh, how can I do one more thing? So I stop ever using the word busy. I mean, I just don't. I say I'm creative. My calendar is full right now, but I do not declare that I am as busy, because that's a whole, it says I don't have control over my life. And I do. At any given moment, we do in some way or another. And the other part of it is being aware of what gives us energy and what drains energy. And a lot of people live in the draining energy because they're doing a whole lot of things that they're complaining about that they really don't want to be doing in the first place. And I share a lot about that in my book, When Did You Die? 8 Steps to Stop Dying Every Day and Start Waking Up, because those were epiphanies that I began to have.
This
Okay.
is the one that needs to be read twice. The first time to get the vibe, the second time to go back and take your tips with you as you read it.
Oh, well, thank you for that. I appreciate that. I wrote the book I just really felt that I needed it. Um, and the ideas of that. And yes, and that's a thing of what gives me energy and what depletes energy, and how to make adjustments with that. It's a great way to live. We are programmed, energetically speaking, that we're born, and then, we go through experiences, and by the time we're dying, we're so tired of everything. Just take me. That's not really the design. If you look at nature and you look at how other animals and creatures live, you get more energy as you live. But it's the way we program ourselves and the way we've allowed ourselves to be programmed.
Well, this discussion about programming and allowing ourselves to be programmed leads us right back full circle to how we started about the election that's coming up. And I know that podcasts live forever and people are going to go, oh, well, we're not having an election now. But there's always something in the news dividing us, always forces that want to divide and conquer. So I want to give you the opportunity to directly address people about this election that's coming up November 2024 and tell them what is from your heart right now that you want to say to them about all their feelings, all their confusion and fear. What do you want to say directly to those folks that feel uncertain? And there are lots of them.
So we go back to, what are you digesting? Are you digesting fear, or are you digesting possibilities? Are you actually a person that votes? Are you actually going to do something about it beyond talking about it? Are you voting and having 20 of your friends vote? Do you voice maybe in a safe place? Maybe you're not all over social, but do you voice some of your genuine feelings and concerns? What proactivity can one do to transcend just the energy of sitting around, ain't it awful? It's horrible. I might move to another country. Well, a bunch of people said that several years ago. Statistics do not prove it. It was just a whole lot of yada, 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 yada. Don't drive a car that's perceived to be stolen if you aren't content and happy with what it is. And then we as a nation need to start asking the right questions. How do we get other people in those 2 or 3 roles that actually reflect the greater America? Making something great again implies a power that belongs to something else. The energy is within us. And when we learn how to interclaim that, that's when we're going to see a radical shift. Our society is at a tipping point. In your own intuition, you can get that women are becoming more of a greater force. You think that's going to be that welcome? No, let's go backwards. The truth is, remember what we said, we will never, ever go backwards. Companies may not sell rainbow t-shirts. We might wind up with school systems that won't let us use primary colors. We have to use pastel because it might signal gay. Are you kidding me? How crazy can we go to lock in an evolving spirit of humanity? We are going to continue to move. We are going to continue. At times, it doesn't feel like it, just like in your own life. In your own life, sometimes you feel like, well, where is that enchilada? Where is that opportunity? Where is that TV engagement? Where is my grandchild treating me great at all the work I'm doing and watching and listening to Joe Dispenza? When is that going to happen? You know, we wait on things in our own life for an unfoldment. But if you join the despair, you are not helping. If you just sit around and run your mouth and you don't do anything, you're weighting down the few of us, those of us, the hundreds of us, the thousands of us that are attempting to lift the vibration. So move or move forward. But
Move or
stop,
move forward.
move
Yeah.
or move forward, but stop feeding the wolf.
Oh gosh, that's great.
There's nothing really at the end of the day funny about this.
Okay, what's really brilliant here is that we all know this deep down. We
Yes.
have it in our heart chakra.
Yep.
We have this wisdom. But what piles up on top of the heart chakra, to me as a clairvoyant, and I see objectively often, I see sludge
Mhm.
around people, the heart and the solar plexus, when they feel stuck, they feel trapped, they're in worry. And so just clearing that out by taking some kind of positive move forward or an action helps you get back in touch with the wisdom in the heart.
You are so spot on. And a lot of our culture lives in the bottom three chakras, you know, the physical, the mental, and the emotional. Let me live there. Let me have a house. Let me try not to cry every day. Let me, you know, the heart chakra is the opening that brings in the third eye and the gifts and the larger light. And until we free ourselves from that and we open that, the physical heart, it's not a surprise that the number one cause of death is heart-related issues because so many people are living navel down instead of opening up. You know, there's magic to all of this. And it's so easy to understand if you're willing to get off the gerbil wheel, and I like gerbils, don't hurt them. If you're willing to get off that and get the real intuitive information that aligns with you. But people are standing for things that they're not even getting the right data for. And that's unfortunate because united we stand, divided we are merely a distraction. And I tend to feel like a woman that I interviewed on podcasts. I'm curious as to what you think about it. The rise that is coming forth now are animals out of the ocean, out of the forest, and they are starting to show us a side of them that we've never been able to see before, where they will help or save a human. Our dog will run 4 miles to get help. There are things on the rise that there will come a day when humanity will be on their knees and apologize for our ignorance.
And I call them interdimensional allies,
Yes.
because these are non-human consciousness and intelligence that are pure love. And they are having to rise up to get our attention more. What thought do you've given us so much, believe me, but what thought do you want to leave us with? And you've been so generous with your time, but what's the note that you'd like to leave us with today?
One of my greatest lessons has been I only take advice to someone that I'm willing to trade places with. If
Whoa.
if you are wanting a relationship with someone, take advice from someone that's in one, a happy one. If you are wanting to be a thriving, recovering person, be with someone that is that. We are only as capable of rising above. There's, especially right now with the vibration on the planet pulsating the way it is, there are the 4 minute milers that can do things because we are not bound by precedent. We can do things we've never done before. We don't need that in our database and our consciousness to do it. However, if you want to fast track, Find somebody that's done it and get them to tell you how they did it and listen to that. That's what I would do. Because remember, the world really just needs people that are alive. That's what we need. And if you're not willing to do that right now, then get a big old can of Shut Up and spray yourself with essential oil.
Some really good down to earth advice there. But seriously, though, you've given so many what I call golden nuggets here that I hope that everyone listening has found a golden nugget that they can use for themselves or that they can use to help someone else heal themselves going forward. Temple, thank you so much.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for the pleasure. And please keep doing what you're doing.
Visit our website, carefreemedium.com, or find us on social media at Carefree Medium. Thanks for supporting Carefree and Conscious.